Welcome to another episode of Euphoric the Podcast. And you guys, this episode is airing on New Year's Eve, which means 2026 is tomorrow. And there is nothing like this time of year to really get intentional about what we want to bring into the new year. It is also categorically the most popular time of year to take a break or pause from alcohol. So maybe you even found this podcast because you're going to do dry January and you want to get some of the best tips to move you forward. And for that, I say welcome. I'm so excited that you're here. I really recommend, if you're new to my world, go check out my book, Euphoric: Ditch Alcohol and Gain a Happier, More Confident You. It is the best $13 you will spend. You can find it on Amazon, anywhere books are sold, and it has my entire process to change your relationship with alcohol, including an 8-week plan and mocktail recipes, and really all just the incredible gifts and benefits you get from taking a break from alcohol. Now, if you want to do this together, if you're the type of person who gets the external motivation, what I mean by that is, let's say you're having a hard day and you really wanted to work out, but then all this stuff happened and you're just like, it's probably not going to happen. That's the kind of person you are. But then say you had the same hard day, but you said that you're going to meet with a friend at 6 p.m. to go run with her, or you said you're going to go meet your personal trainer and you go do it no matter what, even if you had a hard day. That's the power of external accountability. And for me, I'm definitely someone who leverages that. It's one of the hacks of my life. It's why I tell my coach things. It's why I commit to different things out loud to my audience, because if I just made the commitment to myself, I'm usually kind of pulled some things, but not all things, right? And so that is the power of external accountability. You want to use that to your advantage, which is why we're doing Dry Boot Camp as a community together. We come together once a year in the Euphoric community to take a break from alcohol, and I would love to invite you. It is, you guys, a full-on program with coaching and training and daily lessons and guides and craving meditations and all this stuff, only for $55, which is so low compared to the average monthly spend on alcohol. So if you are planning on not drinking in January, come join us in Dry Boot Camp. We start formally January 8th. Be sure to use the link below to reserve your spot and get started. We have calls, we have trainings, again, daily lessons. It's really a fun thing, and I'm sure you're gonna really see a difference in your relationship with alcohol once you do this program. Okay, guys, so without further ado, it is that new year, new season, 2026. So many people do dry January. And so we're gonna do a special series in this podcast just on dry January. And I'm so excited because maybe it's your first time doing this. And again, welcome. I'm so excited you're here. Maybe it is your second or third dry January. Maybe it's something you do as like a reset every single year, or maybe you kind of come back to it every year or something like that. Or maybe you are alcohol free and January still reminds you of this like cool time of year when a lot of other people are joining you and doing this health challenge as well. So wherever you find yourself, I hope this episode will be really, really helpful, because a lot of people hear about dry January, especially from the health world, and they kind of approach it as like any other elimination diet. Like, okay, I'm just not gonna eat dairy, I'm not gonna eat gluten, like whatever it is. And they will power through it, and they find that it is so much harder than almost removing anything else. And I don't want you to make that mistake. So, alcohol is not like any other food. It is not like removing anything else in your life. Truly, you don't want to do it on willpower or just denying yourself something. We want to be making these shifts in our subconscious mind so that it's so much easier for you. Which is why this podcast episode is titled Dry January Success: The Mindset Shifts That Are Either Gonna Make Your Month or Break It. And I'm sharing 6 mindset shifts that were so helpful for me as I went alcohol free and took my first break from alcohol, and also so many that have helped women in my community. And now these mindset shifts are totally different from the way that we have been conditioned to view alcohol. So maybe be ready to be shocked. Maybe be ready for me to be a little controversial. Maybe be ready to hear something you've never heard before. But these 6 mindset shifts are going to change the way you look at alcohol if you're willing to believe them. And, for me, they're the most powerful things that you could believe, because I have no desire for alcohol because of these mindset shifts, okay? So without further ado, let's get into it. Again, I hope to see you in Dry Boot Camp. Go grab my book if you want that support, and let's get into these tips. So the first one is going from deprivation to actually having more. And why I mention that is because so many people get into this game of trying to eliminate or reduce alcohol. And when alcohol has stood in their brain as the reward that they get at the end of the day, then of course you're going to feel deprived. Of course you're going to feel deprived when you take that away, right? Like that is such a common thing. And even just think of like a small child with a blanket or something that they suck. Like when you take that away, they're going to feel deprived without it because it's brought so much comfort and it's been seen as a reward for such a long time. And so we have to shift the mindset and we have to stop looking at alcohol as the reward, right? We have to start seeing what other gifts alcohol has actually been blocking this whole time so that now you actually get to live a life of more. And so if you're committed to dry January, like just 100%, like let's do it, I'm doing it, you want to start paying attention to what are the benefits that you're feeling and seeing from going alcohol free. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, if you were, drinking quite a lot in December and then your first week in January is not going to be all rainbows and unicorns. It's probably going to feel pretty murky. But the longer you go, the more these benefits will start to reveal themselves. And you have to have that faith and you have to have that trust, right? It's not an overnight switch. But you want to start recognizing what you are showing more of in your life, what is coming in, what benefits are you recognizing that you wouldn't have had if you were drinking. So, one of the first that I noticed personally was presence. Like, because anytime I drank, I would then start to have to manage it. I would have to start thinking to myself, either, okay, make sure you don't have more than 2 drinks, make sure that you go to bed at a certain time, or maybe I am thinking about having more, right? And the opposite is like, okay, so I am almost empty in this glass and I'm sitting at this dinner. Like, is it going to be okay if I ask for the host for more or should I like get up? Like, you know what I mean? Just these crazy thoughts where no matter what, you're not present. You're not in the situation. You are somewhere else thinking about alcohol at the end of the day. And it might not be just desiring it, it might also be trying to micromanage it. And so when you can start to notice that when alcohol isn't a decision that you have to make, all of a sudden you can pay attention to what's really there and what's really around you. Maybe you're able to have closer conversations with your loved ones. I remember falling in love with like trees and clouds because I wasn't paying attention before. I was always just thinking about on a hike, let's get to happy hour afterwards. And I was actually really, really present with that. Now, if you want to check out again my book, Euphoric, Ditch Alcohol, Gain a Happier, More Confident You, I think I list all the gifts, and there's probably hundreds of them. So you can just go through this and start paying attention to the things that you should be expecting. Not from like a negative expectation, like, oh my God, if this doesn't come, it's not working, but just like a positive, hopeful appreciation of what could actually come your way the longer you stay alcohol free. Your sleep's gonna get better. You're definitely gonna have less fuzziness and less headaches. You're definitely going to start to feel more energy and enthusiasm. And again, for some people, this can take some time. You're definitely going to have that presence I talked about. You're going to feel also this sense of more me time because when you're not sleeping off alcohol, you're probably getting more introspective. Your intuition is going up, your creativity is going up. I remember my first dry January was so introspective. I was so not like absorbed in a bad way, but absorbed in my own thoughts in a good way. Like I was getting to know myself again in a brand new way. And I could go on and on about this mindset shift because it's literally the crux of my work and my book and all this kind of stuff. But all the little things from boredom, it's like going alcohol free invites you to figure out what's actually fun for you, what actually brings you joy. And so you're going to start seeing more and more gifts the longer you go. And I want you to look out for them. I want you to get excited about them. And I want you to actually write them down when they happen. Even if it's not that big of a deal, even if you're like, oh, I slept through the night for the first time, write that down, right? If you even notice that it's like a Friday night and normally you would have been drinking, but your daughter calls you and she needs to be picked up, maybe you're like, oh my gosh, I was actually able to go pick her up instead of feeling the shame of already starting to drink on a Friday and then not feeling like I can get behind the wheel. There's the littlest, most micro things that we start feeling that deep appreciation for. And it's going to be a life of more, right? I started out this conversation by saying that you don't have to make as many decisions when alcohol is not involved. And really successful people do that, right? They delegate these small micro things that aren't the needle movers in their lives to abstinence so that they don't have to make decisions about them. And that's one of the reasons why Steve Jobs didn't drink either, right? Okay, mindset number 2 is redefining what normal means. So everyone goes around the dominant kind of mindset and worldview around alcohol is just thinking that drinking is so normal. It's what everyone does. It's what adults do. And I'm not going to change your mind on that. It is normal. Obviously, less and less people are drinking year after year, so it's changing, but it's not changing so much that the whole population isn't drinking yet, right? And so if you start thinking that everybody drinks and I'm just the one that's not drinking and that makes me weird or abnormal, you're going to feel depressed and feeling like you're left out and that FOMO feeling, right? So yeah, drinking is normal. But I want you to redefine what normal is and if you even want to belong to normal. So most drinkers overdrink. Most people are overweight and unhealthy, especially metabolically. Around 88% of all people are metabolically unhealthy, which means if you're metabolically unhealthy, you're going down to chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, cancer, all that kind of stuff. Around 60% of people are unsatisfied and unfulfilled in their careers, and some studies even say that number is up to 85%. So let's see, people are unhappy, they're unhealthy, and they're drinking too much. That's normal, my friend. That is what normal is. So do you really want to be normal? And so if you can start to see in your mind that it's actually the most extraordinary people who start to diminish the alcohol in their lives. It is the most extraordinary people who want the most extraordinary life. And the longer you stay around with me and the show and Euphoric as a community, you're going to start to see that. You're going to see that you don't drink so that you can do so much more with your life. And not wanting to be part of normal should be everyone's desire, right? Like, yes, we all want to fit in because that is biologically, instinctually how we survived, on the Sahara back when we were hunter-gatherers. But you always get to determine, now that there's so many subgroups of people and there's so many different interests, you always get to decide what you want to belong to. And you can belong to anything, right? You can belong to people who like to sew quilts. You can belong to people who like to run at 5 a.m. You can belong to people who are launching businesses. You can belong to people who, are living on homesteads. Like, you can choose belonging today, and you're not going to feel left out necessarily as long as you have a strong core of belonging. So ask yourself what you actually want to belong to. Do you really want to belong to the over-drinking, unhealthy, unhappy, unfulfilled mass of population, or do you want to have an extraordinary life? Extraordinary, filled with purpose and passion and so much more wealth and health and abundance. That's the non-drinking path, right? So stop trying to think about what normal is. Stop even saying, I get so annoyed by this, and maybe this is my pet peeve, but normal drinkers, like, no, it doesn't exist, right? It's not actually a thing. People either occasionally drink, they very, very lightly drink because they occasionally drink, or when you're usually a regular drinker, you're over drinking. Just because our pores have gotten up, the serving size has gone up, our health guidelines go down, nobody is normal drinking, right? Everybody is to some extent over drinking if they're drinking regularly enough. So normal drinking, I hate that. Normal drinkers, I don't like that phrase either. Like, there's nothing normal about needing alcohol to reward yourself to get through parts of your day or parts of your week that you don't like. If that's what normal is, then of course we're all unhappy and unfulfilled. But we here claim better. We want better for our lives. We're ready for so much more, right? And so that's my best mindset shift for number 2. Number 3, I also can't stand when people say, I can't drink, I can't this, da da da. I'm not allowed to, all those kinds of things. Like, your language is so powerful. I want you to pay attention to the words that you're using. You can do anything you want, by the way. You can literally do anything you want, right? But there's going to be certain consequences, or there are going to be certain opportunities as a result of what you choose to do, right? So from thinking, if you're doing your first or second or third dry January and you're telling yourself, okay, can't drink this month, can't drink this month. No, you're right. You're choosing to not drink. Nobody forced you to do this. But instead of telling yourself you can't, it's not allowed, it's off limits, tell yourself this. Again, remember, words are powerful, and the identity you're building for yourself is super important here. Don't say I can't. Don't say I'm not allowed to. None of that. I don't, so I can. That's what I want you to say. I don't drink, so I can blank. And whatever that blank is, fill it in with what's personal to you, with what matters to you more, what matters to you that's more important in your life. I don't drink so I can grow a profitable business. I don't drink so I can run a marathon. I don't drink so I can be a present mom and incredible role model. I don't drink so, and again, it's going to depend on your value system. I'm giving you a few examples, but whatever is most important to you or whatever you want to achieve in your life, whatever your big goals are for 2026, that's what we say, right? I don't drink so I can. And so it's never deprivation. It's never you're literally can't do something. You're choosing to not do something that is sucking the life force out of most people so that you can actually focus your beautiful creative energy and your beautiful physical passion and all these things on the thing you actually want most in your life. And that's really, really important to recognize, especially too. Some people say, like, oh, I can't moderate. And I get that. I get what they mean. And I think a lot of people use that as a reason why they say, then I can't drink. And that's great. That's fine. That will work for some people. But I even think sometimes that can be limiting because, yeah, sure, maybe you can, maybe you can't. Does it even matter? Does it matter? Because moderating also sucks. Moderating means you make a million decisions all the time. Moderating means that you're always being super vigilant about how much alcohol is being poured and all this kind of stuff. Like, who actually wants that existence, right? I just don't so that I can. And remember my example of Steve Jobs. He didn't drink before he passed away in his life so that he didn't have to make decisions about it. He could just put all of his creative energy into creating the smartphone and all the other cool things that Apple came up with during his time, right? And that's how powerful you are too. Okay, mindset shift number 4. Alcohol screws with everyone. Again, I think we have this thwarted view in our society that alcohol is only bad for some people. And obviously, according to how much trauma someone has, according to how much exposure to alcohol in their life they've had, according to how they were raised in their environment, yes, some people gravitate to more drinking problems faster and sooner than other people, right? Obviously, I'm not dumb. I can recognize that. But to think that alcohol is this benign substance for a certain select of people and this problematic substance for another group of people is messing with your mind. It truly is. Alcohol screws with everyone. How do I know? Let me ask you this. Does anyone feel good after drinking the next morning? Anyone? Now, maybe an 18-year-old can kind of bounce back, and obviously my hangovers weren't as bad when I was 18 compared to 28 or 30, but I didn't feel like $1,000,000 after drinking, even at 18, right? Does anyone actually feel like $1,000,000 after drinking the next day? No, categorically no, right? Alcohol is a toxin that your body has to detox. It goes into overdrive to try to process this thing out of your system. It is disrupting so many of your physical systems, your hormones, your stress hormones, your neurotransmitters, like your biology, your digestion, your metabolism. It is doing and disrupting so many things. Nobody feels good after drinking. And obviously, some of us get headaches much more easily. Some of us like really feel that fuzzy fogginess the next day. And especially when you don't drink every single day, if you drink like only on the weekend, you feel the effects more because your body got a break from it during the week and then the weekend it got a pounding. So it's going to feel it more. And so you know what I'm talking about. You know that you don't feel as crisp and as sharp as you do on nights that you don't drink. And the longer you get away from alcohol, the better you start to feel too. Alcohol screws with everyone. And especially when it comes to like how dependence is formed, well, again, maybe this is controversial, but in my worldview, most people who drink are emotionally dependent. To me, there's not that big of a difference between someone who's like addicted and someone who is drinking regularly because they're both emotionally dependent on alcohol. You can't argue that someone who's using alcohol as a regular part of their life isn't to some extent emotionally dependent on it, right? And obviously there is like a line that crosses once your body physically gets addicted to it. And most people never cross that line. It's actually pretty rare. So like most people are walking around who drink emotionally dependent on alcohol. Who cares if someone drinks 2 drinks a week or 10 drinks a day? They're both in the same world basically when they're emotionally dependent. They're still using alcohol to meet their needs. They're still using alcohol as a reward or to relax or to feel more confident when they're socializing or to feel like they belong, or to feel like they have a sense of status and significance. They're the same thing is going on, whether someone drinks normally, right? Quote, air quotes with that one, because you know how facetious I think that is, and when someone's heavy drinking as well. So alcohol screws with everyone. The more exposure you're going to get, the more you're going to feel those effects in time. So both biologically, physiologically, and this is what's so cool about how functional medicine is really catching up now. There's no divide anymore of like alcohol being a health beverage for some people, but for other people, it's like a bad thing that can lead you to addiction. Functional doctors now all agree that there's no safe amount of alcohol. Actually, the biggest studies in the world prove that. Like the Lancet study studied 195 countries over about 20 years to categorically prove that no amount of alcohol is safe for you. But it's usually the functional medicine doctors that are getting on the bandwagon faster. And they're telling that people and they're telling their audiences. And whether it's the brain health or the heart health or cancer or whatnot, they're really speaking up about how bad it is for everybody, you know? Alcohol screws with everyone, right? You don't have this special magical cloak from it. And sometimes I like to think of, there is like this difference why some people venture more into a faster emotional dependence or addiction than other people. But like I have come around so many people now in my line of work who didn't really drink in college, didn't really drink in their 20s or even 30s, started drinking really lightly in their 40s. And then by the time they're in their 50s, they're just as emotionally dependent as anyone else. So it's like a backwards way of falling into alcohol, just like compared to the teenager who over drank and went to parties and other kind of stuff. But it doesn't matter. As long as you're exposed to it long enough, it all goes down to the same road. You're just strengthening the connection in your brain that alcohol is meeting your needs. And you're also strengthening your body's desire for it over time because you're consistently telling your subconscious, this is the fix. And also, you're supplanting all these limiting beliefs about what alcohol does for you. Now, that is going on to my fifth mindset shift that you want to understand if you want to have an incredible dry January, if you want to have an incredible dry January and beyond, is that everything positive about alcohol is made up. All right, try this one on for just a moment. Everything positive about alcohol is made up. Who made it up? Society. Society made it up. Like, we have the biggest reason for drinking is for relaxation, when scientifically, on a biological level, alcohol doesn't relax the human body. Alcohol releases stress hormones in the human body and causes the body to go on overdrive. So, like, even the most basic assumptions we have about alcohol are completely made up. Most people think that alcohol can help them sleep, and in fact, 20% of Americans use alcohol to help them sleep every single night. That is completely made up. Alcohol is one of the worst things you could ever use to start your sleep. It literally puts you into a coma, not into sleep. And that is what the brain waves that neuroscientists have studied look like when someone goes to sleep after alcohol, right? You're not obviously in a coma, but it's closer to that state than you are into natural, healthy sleep. And I could go on and on and on. And every positive thing I believed about alcohol, alcohol makes me more confident, alcohol helps me be more gregarious, alcohol helps me be more popular, alcohol is such a great reward after the end of a long day, drinking makes me feel more rebellious and independent, drinking makes me cool. I know that sounds so cheesy, and like most of us think that we wouldn't actually believe that, but there's probably a little teenager inside of you who still believes that, who still like has in some shape or form this idea that drinking gives you a sense of belonging and camaraderie and elevates you to a group of certain people. And, just marks you as like this is the cool version of you, and the non-drinking is the boring, religious, like whatever version, right? So all of these things, like we could go on and on about the alcohol beliefs, right? Even stuff that like doesn't seem to be as subjective, like alcohol's always been around in human society, or Jesus turned, water into wine, or lots of people have drank, or everything good in moderation. Like all of these sayings, all of these beliefs are made up, and they're not true. They're not true. I believe that alcohol is a human construct. Now, what is a human construct? A human construct is often something that is made up that isn't necessarily a physical, tangible element of our world and our universe. It is something like money, for example. Like money is real. You have paper money. Like anyone can pull out a dollar bill from their wallet and it's like real and in front of them. But the concept of money is completely made up, right? And even though alcohol technically could exist in nature if some grapes fall down and, start to rot and stuff like that, The idea of alcohol and what it does for us as humans is a human construct. It is a human construct. We do not look alcohol objectively as a society. We do not see it as this toxin, as this fermented toxin in a glass. We don't see it as ethanol. It's the same ethanol that you put in your gas tank. It's the same ethanol that goes into a rocket. We don't see it like that, right? We put these suppositions onto it. We put all these assumptions onto it that make it better. And all of those are made up. And so if you really want to have a good month this month, break down all the things you believe about alcohol that aren't good or that are good. Break down every positive thing you believe about alcohol and just watch what kind of line of inquisition and what kind of assumptions are going to come up for you. Again, I walk you through this process in my book Euphoric. Go check it out. Or you want to do this together with a coach, with, live people doing it together, with coaching calls, with trainings, with way more guidance, I recommend you join Dry Boot Camp, which is starting in just 7 or 8 days on January 8th. You definitely want to get inside. It's only $55 to join. We ran it before for about $199, so it's totally discounted on sale. I just wanted to make it as accessible to people as much as possible. And remember, the average spend on alcohol is about $300 to $400 a month. So if you're doing Dry January, this is the best thing that you could do for yourself and really make it as easy as possible to succeed. And by the way, doing a successful Dry January doesn't mean necessarily you don't drink for 31 days. Success can look different for different people. And so I want you to have a lot of self-compassion and self-love this month so that you recognize that any insight, any change, any recollection and difference, something that you gleaned from this experiment and experience is for your benefit this month, okay? So everything positive about alcohol is made up. And the last mindset shift that is going to help you have so much more success, just going to make your month, is to think of this from a reset to going to Superwoman. What do I mean by that? Most people do Dry January, and I know I did, as thinking of it as like, okay, I just need to hit the reset button. Maybe I was drinking a little too much in the holidays. Maybe I, have been trying to moderate a lot, but I've been also socializing a lot, so it's been really hard. I just need a reset. I just need like a blank slate. I just need a little break from alcohol. And obviously that's a really nice way to look at it because it's going to be motivating that it's not very long that you're doing this. It's only 31 days. It's not forever. You know what I mean? It's a nice idea to have this reset. And especially for me, I thought after my first Dry January or during it, that the whole point of it was also to help rebalance like my drinking patterns so that I could kind of start from lower. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? So like, especially after the holidays, there's just so much socializing and stuff like that I just wanted to like start from lower and kind of clean the slate, that kind of thing. And again, this can be a nice mindset to have. But when you think that way, you're also making it all about the alcohol. And you're seeing this break as just like, all right, 31 days without alcohol. Like, I'm pretty much the same person. I'm just going to drink a little less by the time I go back to alcohol in February. And what if, instead of thinking about it as a reset, you actually saw this as an avenue to become Superwoman? So, like, if you were to completely change your 2026, if you were to have the best year ever, make more money than you've ever made in your life, have more, maybe you might meet the love of your life this year. Maybe you go travel around the world to all these places that you've always wanted to travel to. Maybe you have an incredible promotion or you launch your business, like whatever success would look like for you. If 2026 would be the best year where like anything that is possible was possible for you, wouldn't you have to do some kind of shift in your identity to actually believe that? Like, I don't think any of us would just believe like, yeah, 2026 is just going to be the best year of my life because randomly luck hit me on the head. Like, we think that if we want the things that we really want to happen the most in our lives, we would have to jump up in our identity upgrade. We would have to have something really internally shift in within us to become the type of person who makes more money than they've ever made, or the type of person who attracts in the love of their life, or the type of person who quits their job to go travel the world, or the type of person who launches a business, right? What's going to make that actually believable for you? And if you've tuned into the alcohol-free kind of narrative before, like, it's insane what people are capable of when they ditch alcohol. It's insane, literally. Like, what can happen just your first year alcohol-free? How much of a difference it can make in your life, how huge the jumps are in identity. from never believing you could be an entrepreneur to launching a successful business, from having the worst writer's block to writing a book within a few months, from, feeling kind of nervous when you socializing to meeting the love of your life because you're present and clear and you've been focusing on yourself. From just these crazy beginnings to the most exalted success stories. And what if in your mind, yes, you're doing a reset, right? You're just resetting so that you can go back to drinking in February. Okay, we don't have to completely abolish that narrative. But what if in your mind, you really started thinking of it as this is the secret path. This is the secret path to my superwoman year. I never thought I could run a marathon, but maybe the longer I'm alcohol free, that's going to be an easy thing for me. I never thought I could grow my income and let's just see what happens if I continue this journey. So I want to plant that seed. Now, it doesn't mean you have to commit to already going a year without alcohol at this point. It's fine, right? You're just doing dry January. I get it. But plant the seed that literally anything could be possible for you because of this one change. And start to get excited about it. Start to see that this is the year of a huge revolution for you, a huge identity upgrade, a huge upgrade in what you believe is possible and your leadership to actually go after it. In my work as a coach and working with a lot of different people to help them get certified as coaches, helping business leaders, helping people go alcohol free, my work spans really the gamut of so many different human desires of, getting healthier, getting better, finding purpose, launching a business, growing a business, right? I've seen so many different motivation levels. I also work with the general public when I go speaking and meeting people and stuff like that. So it's not just my clients that I'm working with, right? I meet a lot of people. And so I can see really clearly what holds people back from, everybody says they want the same thing. And that's what's really hard is that everybody says they want X, Y, and Z, whatever the success is for you. But the difference between the people who actually achieve it and not, one, they have an elevated identity. It's they already believe that they can. And because of that, they take way more action towards it. They take way, way more action. And I know that sounds so simple, but if you're in your head right now, if there's something that you want to do, just take the damn baby step already. Just take the damn baby step. And so you're already going to be more successful this year claiming that you're doing dry January today, signing up for a program like Dry Boot Camp, than someone who's kind of tinkering on it yeah, maybe I'll try this. We'll see how it goes. And then they end up drinking the first Friday of January. You know what I mean? That's how it usually goes. So take action for whatever it is on your goals, on your dreams. And just know that the longer you're alcohol free, the more that you are going to beget that version of yourself that does take more action. And I don't think that happens necessarily for everyone across the board when they go alcohol free, because it really depends on what kind of mentorship and what kind of just things are coming through your ears at that time. So it's really important that you are surrounded by a community that is starting to show you, oh, your dreams are possible now that you've gone alcohol free. It's actually really easy. And start showing you that this is that brain scramble your brain needed of oh, I don't drink now? Oh, I guess I could do anything now, right? And it just literally anything becomes possible. So I hope these tips were helpful. Again, they might be controversial. I might be a little delusional, but these are the things that make alcohol something that I never crave, never desire, haven't looked back once. I literally haven't wanted to drink alcohol since February of 2018, which is just about 8 years ago. And if you think that I'm just the kind of person who, would drink just a little bit here and there or drink on the weekend, no, I was obsessed with alcohol. I was obsessed. It was the highlight of my week. I literally couldn't wait for happy hour. I couldn't wait to open the wine. I couldn't wait for having more drinks. Alcohol really did revolve around most of my life. I always was the type of person who wanted to drink. I drank way too much when I was younger. I tried to balance it as I got older and moderated more. And sometimes I failed, sometimes I didn't. You know what I mean? So I get it. I totally, totally get it. But these mindset shifts can completely clear that desire. Obviously, you hear them once, but now you need to work on them. Now you need to reflect and journal on them. And that is what Dry Boot Camp will help you do. So I would love to see you there. Go to the link in the show notes and join us. We're going to be celebrating you. And if you're anti-community and don't like getting support and don't like all this cool coaching and trainings and stuff, but you do want something else like a resource that you can use in your house and a tool for you to use during dry January, go check out my book, Euphoric. It's usually $12, $13 on Amazon. It's a steal. It has my life's work in it. It's going to help you cement these mindset shifts. So the first one, let's just do a quick recap. Go from feeling deprived to knowing this is the journey that's going to give you so much more, and start paying attention to it. Number two, start redefining what normal means, because you don't actually want to be normal. Normal is blah, right? You want to be extraordinary. Number three, stop telling yourself I can't or it's off limits. I don't, so I can, right? Number four, alcohol screws with everybody. Nobody gets away with feeling the effects of alcohol in their life. Nobody gets away from the exposure and the dependence and the shitty effects of alcohol on their physical bodies. Number five, everything positive about alcohol is just made up by humans and it's all fake. So you can just decide not to believe that crap and believe the real truth. And number six, stop seeing it as just a reset and seeing this as the avenue to be the superwoman version of yourself. This is Euphoric the Podcast. I'm Karolina Jodkowalska, your host. I cannot wait to be delivering Dry January episodes to you all month long, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if this episode was helpful, leave us a review. It really helps other people find the episodes. I think just this episode would change so many people's lives if they were willing to sit down and listen to it. So many people who have been, using alcohol as a way to cope and relax and socialize and just all the bullshit that we learn about it from society. We need a new narrative about alcohol and a new narrative of what it means to say no thanks and go alcohol free, because it's the most extraordinary, successful life imaginable. All right, without further ado, I'll see you next week. We're going to talk about the weird side effects of dry January.